What's up, Tribe? We are back on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. This is Rafael, your wholesaling business blueprint coach. Today, I have a very special guest on the show. This kid is super young. He's really like one of the definitions of tenacity. I think he's a very prime example of what tenacity really looks like. I am lucky enough to see this kid operate on a daily basis, and I see him sitting down and just getting honed in and super hyper focused on the stuff that he's doing. I mean, lead generation, working through deals, learning, becoming better, and then pushing and pushing and pushing on a daily basis. What gets me is how young this kid is. So, right, with us we have Mr. Jesus Valdez. What's up, man?
What's
Glad
up,
to
man?
have you.
Appreciate you for having me.
All right, full disclosure before I move forward and go into the story and deal breakdown and everything that everybody wants to listen to. He is dating my daughter. That's how I know how he operates, right? However, with that being said, it's very cool to see the development. It's very cool to see how you've progressed over the last couple of years. And I've known you for a long time, so I'm very happy. I'm honored to be part of the journey and then sit down with you and really share your results. So
Thank you,
welcome
man.
to the show, man.
Hell yeah.
All right, so from your words, give us a little bit of background on you, how you got started, how old you are, when you got started, and give us a skinny on it.
Yeah, so I'm 21 right now. I got started when I was like 19. I learned about it like 18 when you were telling me a little bit about it, but I hadn't like no idea. You were telling me about wholesaling. I was like, what is this,
Yeah.
And then like 19, I remember you invited me to a Sean Terry event. And then from there, I mean, everything just went far because I went there. I seen all, the big gurus, everything like that. Seen Carlos Reyes. And then I just seen that guy at the gym too. And then from there, that's when I got an acquisitions job. And I mean, from there, man, I learned the business ins and out because I seen them, how they ran their business. I learned how to talk to people because before I was just super shy, like didn't know how to talk to people. That helped me develop. And then from there, a few years later, I just started doing my own thing, and here I am right now.
One thing that you caught on real quick was the importance of cutting the learning curve, and I know we had a bunch of conversations about real estate, and I kept telling you about the power, right, the ability to have a wholesaling business and then create a life of freedom and create a life by design after that. So we had that conversation, and then you did a very smart thing, which was if it's not paying for mentorship, you go somewhere where you can learn. And you've always been able to get yourself like through the door and find spots where knowledge just expands. And you're like a sponge, man. Every time we have a talk, you go and then you just execute right after. But you're like a sponge in terms of learning, in terms of progress. Deal structures. You know a lot more about this business than most people who've been in it for 2-3 years do. And I think the biggest factor, right, behind that is the tenacity. You pound the phones like no other. It's like you're a Filipino VA, like you're just hitting them that hard, and that's really what it takes, right? It takes that commitment. We either interested in creating a life by design, or we're committed to it. I think having a lock on that commitment and then hitting that discipline goes a long way, and you've been able to do that through the years. So break it down. I mean, you were working for another company, and that's you got your feet wet in acquisitions, and you were negotiating deals. You got exposed to it, right, and kind of cut the learning curve there from an exposure standpoint, which I think it's great, right, to go somewhere where you can get training and direction. It's almost like a paid internship.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just about 4 months ago, you decided to just start your own thing and start prospecting for your own deals, looking for your own deals. How has that been going so far?
I mean, it's been a blessing and not a curse, but there's struggles. There's definitely struggles. Because I mean, you think you know everything once you leave that paid internship, and then you get hit with one thing and you're like, what the hell, how do I solve this? They usually solve that. Because all I do is acquisitions. But it's cool because you get to see the ins and out of the business for yourself, and you get exposed to everything instead of just that position you had. but you definitely grow. I mean, you get exposed to every single part of that business, and I mean, and you just keep growing and growing, and it feels like to yourself, it feels like powerful and motivating. You're just like, I'm really growing, because back then all I knew was acquisitions. Now I know like dispo, transactions, every single side of it. So I mean,
And you have to, right? Once you become a solopreneur and you really, I mean, you're handling your own stuff, you have to be able to figure things out. You have to be able to see different angles, not just that one. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people just kind of underestimate, right? Okay, I'm really good about, I'm really good at locking deals. I'm really good at marketing. I'm really good at, finding buyers or whatever. But putting it all together, it's a whole different beast. Finding a way to do it that's efficient, that's a process. It's a whole different, thing. It's a whole different ballgame. And you're at that level right now. You're at that stage where you're starting to bring in, VAs, people to help you just call and then prospect and do better and do more, so you can focus on your stuff, which is acquisitions, right? How has that transition from the just you hitting it and then having that sense of doubt that creeps in, that mindset, it's really a challenge, right? It's really a challenge. How have you dealt with that, and how have you transitioned out of that into where you're at right now?
So I mean, me as a person, the way I like to do things is like, like you said, I'm a sponge. I soak up all the knowledge, and I just lay in bed at night. I'm like, dude, I'm excited. So I wake up the next day and just like head first to it. Just do what I gotta do. If I lose a little bit of money, like cool, just go for it. And then, that's what
it's a learning tax is what it is.
That's what it is. That's
You're
what
not
I
losing,
learned.
you're learning.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely hiring other people, like a cold caller for you, helps a lot, because if you're pounding the phones just nonstop, as far as cold calling, I mean, you're gonna get burned out eventually. So that's why, hiring a cold caller just helps a lot, because you have someone to do the cold calling for you. Now you're hitting your leads, doing your thing, as far as me, and then I get to, at the same time, they're doing their job, you're doing your job, and together, I mean, it's just going to produce more revenue, more deals.
So 4 months into it, what does it look like right now? So you have a VA helping you out, right? You have VA kind of picking up the, or not picking up the slack, but helping you on the back end just to increase that volume, right?
Yeah.
How much are they calling, or for how long are they calling a day? How many
they do
calls are they making?
6 hours a day.
6 hours a day?
Yeah. And then I'm doing 3 hours on my own of cold calling.
6 hours a day and 3 hours a day. How many people are you guys reaching out to on average a day?
A day,
total?
I'd say about like maybe 1,000, 1,500.
1,000 to 1,500.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a big number, right? And it really is what it takes. Like, you can't. I see a lot of people who are hitting. Oh, you know what? I made 10 calls today. I made 15 calls today. Like, no, you have to ramp it up at a bigger volume. I'm assuming obviously you guys are using a power dialer, and then you have some tools set in place, right? But you have a process to have that VA come in and then send the leads over to you. Do you guys or do you pre-qualify the leads as you get them, or?
Yeah, because now, I mean,
what's your process? Yeah.
Usually the way you told me, you have a lead manager.
Yeah.
Which is the one who sources the leads. I mean, I'm not gonna hire another VA right now for that. But yeah, when the cold caller sends the leads in, I bring them and basically source it. Call like, hey, are you seeing if they're real instead of just tire kickers. Those people that are like, oh, just give me an offer.
Yeah. I
see if they actually have a problem that I can solve, and then that's when I actually consider it a lead.
Yeah. So, I mean, problem that you can solve, that's, at the end of the day, like, that's the business that we're in. We're in the people business, and we're solving people's problems.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to kind of, forget about that or put it on a shelf when we're focused on the money, right? We're focused on closing the deal. We're focused on getting revenue in, because we're in that survival stage, or we're in the bootstrap mode where we're just launching. We need money for marketing, and we're just focused on the deal, on the revenue. It's easy to forget about the whole point of this, which is providing a solution for that seller. How do you keep check on that? How do you come back to that space? Especially, I mean, I wasn't thinking that way when I was 21, right? My thought process was different. I was not, my priorities were different. I wasn't really focused in, and then spending, all those hours. Right now you're dialing 3 hours, that you're cold calling for 3 hours, but what are you doing the rest of your day?
So I start off the day, wake up, and do my own thing. But at first, I do my follow-up calls. Then for 3 hours, I hit the cold calling.
New business, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, just any other follow-up calls I have. I'm trying to get my real estate license, so I'm studying that. Read, just to kind of learn more about the business.
So you're easily putting 8 to 10 hours into the business a day, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, you have that, and you have the 6 hours from your VA. I mean, that's at least an average of 16 hours a day that you're doing and putting in, like, pouring into this business.
Yeah.
I didn't have that discipline when I was 21. That's what I was trying to get to, right? I mean, I had other priorities, and I was, looking at different things. But your focused growth is, it really is showing. It's showing in terms of results. It's showing in terms of how you've been able to structure more deals and get a little bit more creative on stuff, seeing different angles where you weren't seeing them before.
Yeah.
And when you're in acquisitions, right, you see it's almost like you're in this one track mindset. Locking deals, negotiating, locking deals. And when you have to step back and then really manage the lead generation, then manage the dispo and create, make connections and nourish those connections, your think gets a little bigger, right? You have to expand. You have to see things from different angles now, and you have to become that much better at what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
That progression. So going from that acquisitions mindset, which is single track, and you were just used to doing one thing. If you had an issue, somebody else was going to fix it, figure it out, and then jumping into solopreneur mode. How have you handled that so far?
Well, at first I didn't handle it good because, like I said, I go head first. Into
Not
it.
good. Not good.
So I was just like diving in, and all these problems came. Definitely on the money side is where it gets hard because when you get that money. That book Profit First that you said about, I read that. It's helping me a lot now. But at first, you got to really take into consideration every decision you make, because one little decision could just like lead you down the wrong path. But at the same time, you can't overthink it. But definitely, I mean, just looking at how you can solve each problem, because it's not just the seller's problem you're solving now. Now you got to solve the dispo's problem, the buyer's problem, transaction problems, every single thing. And it's kind of like the same thing, solving a seller's problem is just solving like that problem. So I'd say it's just more problems that you have to solve. That's pretty much it. It's
and you take it one at a time.
Yeah,
one at a time.
A wholesaling business, like you said, is like a beast, and it's all about taming that beast and trying to make it a cash flowing business for you.
Yeah, and I mean, right now you have a methodical process too that you're following, and I mean that helps, right? Because you have context on the overall picture. I know we've talked about hustle and then business and processes and all that stuff before, and I think it really does make a difference, right, on how you handle that kind of stuff. When you're solving problems, now at least you know where the problem is coming from. You know what section of the business, and you can allocate resources or attention to it. Otherwise, you feel like you have this big fat problem on top of you when it's really just a series of 3 or 4 little ones that are segmented. So I like that.
Instead of overthinking it and just being like, hey, I gotta fix my business. Like, no, you just gotta fix these little problems in every area, and it all come together.
Yeah, I love that take on it, man. I love that take. Super cool. So right now you have again, you kind of jumped into it 4 months ago. Started spending all these hours and then just progressing through the deals. You've closed deals, and then you have a couple of deals in the pipeline, right? Give me a rundown of that.
Yeah, so the first deal I ever got actually is the one that's already closed. The other ones are in the pipeline. But the first one that I did close was actually a cold call. And actually it was when
crazy how that works.
Yeah, it wasn't even my cold call. It was actually because I had a bad cold caller back then. So you got to watch out which type of cold callers you get. But I had a cold caller. They weren't really doing really good. And it's when I was hitting my 3 hours of cold calls that I called that guy. And he's like, yeah, I'll sell maybe in the future. And I just left it on a follow-up. And those, how before when I start my day, I do the follow-ups.
Yeah.
It was that time when I called him. It was like 2 months after I cold called him. He said, oh, yeah, actually my tenant's going to move out here soon. And he's like, I don't really want to keep it. I don't really want to list it. So then, we ended up locking it up like that, just on a straight follow up 2 months later.
Straight follow up 2 months later. Break it down. Give me some details on that deal. What was so he had a tenant. It was a rental property, and he wanted to sell the property and just get rid of it.
Yeah, because the tenant was moving out. He had another property under contract to move into, and he's like, yeah, I just do not want to keep the property. I don't want to list it either and have all those showings, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey,
Isn't that crazy?
I'm your guy.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you wouldn't think that somebody just wants to get rid of a house, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know I can do better if I go, the MLS route, but it's not what I want. I want something simple, something, so they're exchanging, profits for time and convenience, which is exactly what you brought to the table there.
Exactly. It's just, making him your friend, getting him, hey, you got a problem, I could solve it, and we could both, make something happen, make a deal happen, and I put that in his head, and that's how I ended up getting the contract.
So walk me through the negotiation. Did you guys? I mean, did you give him a price and he said yes right out of the gate, or did you have to work it backwards and?
No, so I gave him a price.
Give us some of that acquisition magic that you know.
Yeah, so I asked him for a number, and he's like, "Oh, I don't really know. I had to run some comps," and I was like, "Well, what if I just sit down and run comps with you?" So.
Right there on the spot, yeah.
I gave him some comps. I was like, well, you got this one selling for, 280, to this, to that. Some at 300. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I understand you want to make, I told him, I was like, I want to make a profit. He's like, yeah, I understand that too. So then, I just kind of negotiated from there. I did my magic, like, hey, I need it at this number if you really want me to help you in the sense that, what you need. And he was my friend. That's all it is. Making friends. And I'm like, hey, I can help you. He's like, you know what? If you could give me that number, take care of all closing costs, all fees, and let's do it.
And that property was a property where?
Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Georgia. So you're doing virtual. That was a virtual deal. You were locking deals virtually because we're in Phoenix. So you locked a property. You wholesale a property you never saw in Georgia. How much did you lock it up for? What was the ARV on the property first off?
So the ARV was about like 300. And at first he wanted like 270. And I told him, I'm at 250. And we ended up locking it up at 255.
255?
255. But it's all about connections because I had a connection with the hedge fund. And the hedge fund offered, I believe, around like 270 something. So we just ended up selling it to them.
See, that's the thing, right? It's as you spend more time and you get more focus in what you're doing, resources pop up. You get new resources. Like you don't have to know everything. I guarantee you that 4 months ago you didn't know you were gonna have a connection with a hedge fund.
Yeah, definitely.
Or that you were gonna be able to sell something pretty close to retail. So retail was what 300 you said?
300.
300.
Yeah.
And you locked it up for 255. It's a tight wholesale deal, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the right buyer for it. It changes the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
So you locked it up at 255, and how much did you sell it for?
270 something. We made 13 on it.
So you made 13. Did you team up with somebody else, or was that a JV on the buyer? Or
I did
how
team
did it
up
work?
with someone else. So I had a connection. With the hedge fund. I didn't know the hedge fund directly, but they had a $5,000 referral fee, so I ended up making seven on it.
Cool. All right, nice. So you ended up making $7,000 on this deal that was pretty tight to begin with, and it was a 2-month follow up out of a cold call, right?
Yeah. Just one of those leads where you kind of just throw back to like, oh, he's not that interested, and I ended up.
I am telling you. $7,000 at the early age of 21. Yeah, I was making a different amount of money at that age. So the biggest thing here is that like you get proof of concept, right? Like that this is something that's doable. Now you had locked deals before. Through as acquisitions. Yeah. But when you go through the whole thing yourself, like that you come in, you lock it up, you know how to market for it. Now you know how to negotiate it, and then you know how to dispo it. In this case, you're in a different market. This is I want to highlight this, right? You're in a completely different market. Maybe your resources, boots on the ground, and that kind of stuff is not there, but you had a connection. You JV'd with somebody else who was more solid than you were in that area, right?
Yeah.
And then share the profits.
Yeah.
So, a big piece of the pie is better than no piece.
No piece at all.
No piece at all, right?
Just throwing that lead away, saying it's retail.
Exactly. Wow. So, proof of concept, that kind of fired you up, and it got your gears up, and it got you in a higher gear. Is what I'm trying to say. Now you have you were talking about the pipeline. You have 3 other deals in the pipeline that are set to come in and close here.
So I have one that's actually here in Surprise. I'm teaming up with someone else. They're flipping it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the profit is on that one. They're still remodeling it. But that one's basically, I kind of acted like as an acquisition because they're a bigger company. And I ended up seeing them at the property when I went for a walkthrough. I was like, hey, what's up? Because I knew them.
Yeah.
And so I guess I kind of acted like an acquisition. We're going to team up on that one.
So you locked it up and then they took it down. And then you partner up.
Yeah.
Basically, they partner up in your contract?
No, so the seller, we're both there. So they just ended up signing with them. But then I was like, hey, we're both there. So let's just team up on this. So like, yeah, no problem,
Yeah.
They know me and everything. Because I kind of negotiated the price a little bit for them to get it locked up.
Okay, so they locked it up under their
contract,
but you came in and then you.
Yeah.
All right, so you helped them. Okay, this is different. All right, you helped them up with your skills. As far as how to negotiate, how to structure the deal, and everything that you've been learning for the past couple of years, and then they used you in that sense, and then now you're part of that deal. You're gonna make a profit out of it.
Because they had like 5 other different buyers.
Yeah.
And it was me and the other person that I knew, and they're like, yeah, well, we have like 4 other people that we want to go with.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, we could just get it done right here at this price. They're like, okay, well. And then they just wanted to think about it. You know how sellers are. I try to get it locked up there, but no.
What? No, never.
And then I believe like 2 days later, we ended up locking it up at the price I told them.
Yeah. Nice.
This other one actually is pretty creative. We still have to see, but it's in Georgia too, Decatur, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's a condo. It's worth like about 40 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, I called him. He's a cool, busy guy. He owns his own restaurant. He's like, hey, Jesse, all I want is just $5K. $5K and you can have it.
What?
I was like, what? And then, so I started asking more questions because, other people would just get excited. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's lock it up. But I asked more questions. I was like, how much do you owe? How much do you owe on taxes? All that stuff. And he's like, honestly, I do not know.
I have no idea.
I was like, all right.
I have some real estate somewhere, and I have no idea. I've heard of that one before, yeah.
So he, it'd be a cool little buy and hold for someone, just to wholesale too. So I told him, okay, I'll write in the contract that if you owe above 20,000, we'll just cut it. No one's obligated.
Cut your losses. Yeah, you put a cap on it. Yeah. Smart.
And if it's under 20,000 that you owe, then we'll lock it up, move forward with it, and give you $5K. And I'll just end up wholesaling it. So it's contingent.
Yeah.
So they're running title on it.
So that's an interesting one. it can be a 25. It's worth 40. The ARV is 40.
40. So he could owe basically nothing, and I get it for $5K.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he could owe like $15K, and I give him 20, and it's just a buy and hold for somebody.
Yeah, buy and hold for somebody, and maybe a $5K assignment or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. That one's open. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, man. I think you have a virtue which is focused. I've seen you just hone in and then hit those phones and just go through your process, right? And just like when you're there. You get in the zone, and I think that's really what it takes, right? Mm-hmm. It goes to show. It goes to show. There's a period of I call it stacking the deck. So there's a period of activity. Boom, 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 boom. You're going through all this activity. It may feel like there's not a lot of progress being done, but what you're doing is you're stacking those results. You're stacking those results. They just haven't kicked in yet. But it's kind of like, I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking like Jenga. You remember, that game, Jenga, where you stack.
Oh, Jenga, yeah.
Yeah, Jenga, like, however you say it. Yeah. All right. So Jenga. Is it Jenga or Yenga?
I think it's Jenga.
Jenga. All right, cool. So Jenga. All right. So you're stacking it, right? And then you're putting all the blocks one on top of each other and whatnot, and then you start pulling things. Nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, boom, like it hits. That's the same thing. Like with the actions that we take, with the calls that we're making, with the follow-ups that we're setting up on a regular basis, like that's what's happening. We're stacking the deck.
Yeah.
And I think you've done a stellar job of, at that over the last several months. So going forward, I will not be surprised if instead of having one deal closed and 3 in the pipeline, it goes the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I already see it. I mean,
there's no other outcome, right?
Yeah.
You're already walking that direction. You have a process that you're following right now, so you're starting to create some predictability in the business, which I think it's very, very smart. 1,000 to 1,500 calls on a regular basis, it's gonna give you leads. It's gonna give you people that you can start to negotiate with and make offers and find problems so you can come in and solve them and get paid for it.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, at the end of the day too, I mean, someone once told me that, like, those days where you don't feel like calling, if you don't feel like calling that day, that's like in 30 days, you're not going to have a paycheck.
You're not going to get paid.
You're not going to get paid.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, stacking the leads. You talk to that person that don't want to sell, but, hopefully you'll catch someone that does want to sell. You can find a problem for. So
yeah, it's
just consistency, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it, man. And you're doing a hell of a job. So before we start signing off and whatnot, I just kind of want to tap a little bit into the mindset and the self-doubt that happens as you're going through this, right? And not that we've had a lot of conversations in that realm, but I know it sets in. I know that there's days where we just don't feel like pulling the trigger on something. You just mentioned it right now.
Yeah.
There's days where like, oh, you know what? I don't know if I'm on the right track. I don't, is this even making sense? Is this like, how are you dealing with that stuff? Because you're in it right now. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're in the middle of the trenches. Like you're right there. Like you're going head to head, and you're just in the middle of the whole process of building your future, right? How are you dealing with the lows? And I'm talking about the emotional lows.
So I mean, it's hard. I mean, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel the lows and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen me in the lows too. I've come to you and be like, hey man, I'm down bad right now. But it's like all I see is just at the end of the day, I'm down there in the lows, but I just see the vision that I have. I see the company that I'm trying to build, the lives I'm gonna impact. I seen my family not struggle, but struggle with money.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think to myself, like, dude, that's not gonna be me. Like, I'm not gonna put my family through that, my future family. And you just have to keep fighting, see the bigger picture instead of just how you feel in the moment. Just forget what you feel in the moment and just look at the vision, look at the bigger picture. That's what it is.
Focus on the bigger picture. I love it, man. I love it. Jesus, I'm proud of you. You're killing it. You're crushing it. And I can't wait to see what you do in the future, man. It's going to be stellar.
Yes, sir. I also forgot to tell you too that I have that one deal in Georgia that I'm locking up, or that it's in escrow. It's going to close for like 30 something. So that
what? 30K?
Yeah.
Shit, that's a second bell, bro.
That's gonna be the biggest deal right there.
Talk about that in 4 months, man.
Yeah.
4 months of buildup. I'm telling you, you're gonna kill it. You are killing it. So before we sign off, if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe I don't know, JV, partner up with you, bring you deals, or just ask you questions or whatnot. Where's the best place to find you?
You could follow me on Instagram, Jesus Valdez 958, or you could just text me 623-432-6791. I'm available 24/7.
Whoa, we just went gangster giving out phone numbers. I mean, we only get 200,000 downloads on the episodes here. I love it. All right, guys. Well, there you have it, Tribe. At the end of the day, it really comes down on making the decision, right? Pulling the trigger, deciding on whether or not the search for freedom and all that struggle that we're in the middle of is worth it. So as you can see, if you focus, if you put effort into it, it definitely is, and it's something that can change your life. We happen to have stumbled across one of the best vehicles for generating revenue, which is wholesaling. I firmly believe that it's one of the best vehicles out there in terms of entry to barrier and in terms of return. And return on investment on the effort as well. So if you're wondering how to get your wholesaling business started, if you want to get started yourself, go to the Wholesaling Inc. website at wholesalinginc.com/WBB and set up a time to have a conversation with one of our guys. Sit down with them. Ask them any questions that you may have. And if you feel like this is right for you, I look forward to working with you on a one-to-one basis. Until then, stay focused. You got this. Let's go.